Hello everyone, the hobby is here again. So let me just answer the question, when do we really need to change our fuel filters? To answer that question, straight to the point, it depends. So when I say it depends on the quality of the fuel available in your country or your location. On my end, I live in the Philippines, and based on my trusted resources, um, there are lots of transference from tank to another tank to another tank before it arrives in our gasoline stations here. So I can attest to that because I'm actually fueling up my Nissan Navara to one of the biggest big three companies here in the Philippines, or gasoline stations here in the Philippines. They said that more integrity, more cleaner fuel. So it's just a myth because I know. Anyway, moving forward, the reason why I said it depends, let me give you a quick story. So, before I have my fuel filter being changed every 20,000 kilometers on the manufacturer, now I'm doing all of the DIYs. If you will visit and subscribe to my channel, you will notice all of my DIYs being uploaded there. So, every time I change it every 20,000 kilometers, I noticed that the element or the fuel filter is already fully consumed, 100, almost 100%. So maybe I can put in this like it is almost clogged, maybe or maybe not. But just to make sure, I change the interval from 20,000 kilometers run to 10,000 kilometers run, just to be safe and just to be sure that I will have enough allowance just in case I forgot to change it from 10,000 kilometers, or maybe I can change it to 15,000 kilometers run. So anyways, moving forward, that's my own preference because there are multiple possible causes that your fuel injector can fail. So we all know that the fuel filter protects the fuel injectors, and guys, fuel injector can cost you $1,000 each, and you have four fuel injectors for diesel and gasoline, depending on how many cylinders your engine has. So yeah, so what I did is actually on my preference. Okay, so it's up to you if you will still follow your manufacturer's recommended mileage for the fuel filter change. So it will not harm your car unless you decided further, like decided to go 30,000 kilometers, 40,000 kilometers, or never change your fuel filters. So let me discuss some of the possible causes of a fuel injector to fail. First is the fuel starvation. Second is actually the contaminants. And third, which is very unlikely, is the manufacturer's defect. So what are those? Let us discuss this further. So first, let me proceed with the fuel starvation. So first, and it's common, and I saw some drivers here in the Philippines doing that. They drive their car way below their gauge or the capacity, like it is almost empty, and they still driving the car. So if you're doing that, please take note that it is a bad habit because you are at the lowest point of your tank where the contaminants are settling down. So that's the first issue there. So from that reasoning itself, you all know why this is bad. Second thing is, when you are using your fuel filter longer than its recommended replacement time, you are attracting more contaminants there since you are not replacing the fuel filter, and it will cause lower fuel flow to your common rail for diesel or the injectors for gasoline. So if there's a low fuel pressure, we can also categorize it as a fuel starvation. So you're still starving the fuel injectors because they're inside the fuel injectors, specifically for diesel. There's really small, a lot of components there. There's a rod and some little bit of holes inside it, and their clearances from each other is very precise. Okay, so if you're starving the fuel injectors, it will cause frictions inside it, and the clearances will change eventually. And if that changes, it will cause an even distribution of fuel to your cylinders, and it can cause unwanted vibrations or engine vibrations, and also unwanted sounds like fuel knocks. It can make you think that your engine is due for overhauling. So yeah, those are still can categorized as fuel starvation to the fuel injectors. So of course, common sense. Do not run your car if it's almost empty. So yeah, second point is contaminants. How does it happen? So if you are buying replacement um, fuel filters, it doesn't always happen. Okay, some of the manufacturers or remanufacturers there of the replacement fuel filters with different brands are good. Okay, I'm not saying that they're all bad, but on the safest side, I always choose to buy the manufacturer's fuel filter. You can use replacement air filter, cabin filter, or even engine oil filter, but I would say a big no to a replacement fuel filter. Okay, because it can cause you more damage. As I mentioned before, fuel injectors have very small components inside it, and it can cost you more, like $1,000 each or even more. So if the contaminant, since the fuel filter elements has microns rating, or the holes that's microscopic, if it's a lot bigger, it can allow bigger contaminants. And then if it allows contaminants to your fuel injector, it can cause friction. Again, the allowance between those parts inside it can cause damage. And last but not the least, and the most uncommon, is the manufacturer's defect. So if the manufacturer issued you a defective fuel injectors, expect that it will fail maybe a year or two or three. So it's a lot. This fuel injectors mechanism is a very tricky, and also very hard to troubleshoot when the symptoms like fuel knocks occurs. Some of your mechanics might tell you that you have to replace the injector washer. Let's see what will happen next. You have to change the fuel filter and see what will happen next. Worst come to worst, they might recommend you to overhaul the whole engine, and it will not resolve the problem, and you will just end up buying a one full set of fuel injectors. So for you not to go through that, I recommend to really take a good care of your fuel injectors. It will not harm you. I think if it will cost you more if you spend more by changing your fuel filters earlier than the recommended interval. And also, fuel injectors can actually last the lifespan of your car. So maybe 8, 9, 10 years. Your fuel injectors, if you are taking really good care of it, it's almost unbreakable for me. But yeah, especially in Toyotas. So yeah, I recorded this video because I have my experience in the past that I used on my 2019 Nissan Navara. I used replacement fuel filters, and eventually the toll came to me where contaminants was able to pass through to the replacement fuel filter, and that damaged my fuel injectors, caused fuel knocks. It took us a lot of time to troubleshoot it, and we end up changing the fuel injector washers, changing the gasket and everything else. And we even tried to rebuild it, but we ended up buying one full set of fuel injectors that fixes the problem. And cost me like, I think, 5 grand, 5,000 US dollars. So it cost me a lot. So I recorded this video for you to avoid that. We don't want you to experience this kind of issue in the future because it costs you money. You can spend more money in your accessories if you will be able to save from this video, right? Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and please don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe.